My research focuses on how children learn from what other people say, what philosophers have called testimony. I'm particularly interested in situations where what somebody says conflicts with what the child already believes. So the flat earth example is a good one. The earth appears flat, and yet we learn that it's round. So when somebody tells you that the earth is round, you're faced with this conflict between direct observation or first-hand experience and what somebody says.
With funding from the Jacobs Foundation, I was able to focus in particular on bullying perpetration. We were able to develop a measure of maternal warmth that was specific to each child in a family. What's really important is to try and work out what these mechanisms are so we can send a clear message to parents about what you can do, how you can help your children, whether and however they may or may not be involved in school bullying, how we can really help promote positive developmental outcomes.
The Jacobs Foundation has done for me is provided an innovative opportunity to build collaborations with other young scholars. And we've actually been able to design a study and complete a study where we experimentally manipulate exposure to peers, which means whether or not your peers like you or not when you're playing an online video game, to see how it changes a teenager's ability to control their behavior, with the idea that teenagers who are more influenced by their peers are going to be more likely to engage in these negative risk-taking behaviors that put them at risk for bad outcomes for development.
I started to become interested especially in immigrant adolescents. They are confronted with these normative developmental tasks, so they have to develop autonomy, they have to develop better relationships with their peers. They have to sort of cope with the transition to a new country. The parents or the grandparents are still very far away in a different country. And it's interesting to see how well they nevertheless often very cope with this situation and with this complexity actually that their world from time to time means. It is important that these individuals, that they prosper in the new society, and that is important from the individual point of view of these immigrants, but also from a societal point of view.
The Jacobs Foundation has enabled me to research two aspects of immigrant child experience, and the first is the types of families they're living in and how that's related to whether or not they're enrolled in school. And the second aspect is whether or not it matters when they arrive in terms of dropping out of high school. On a positive note, immigrant children and native-born children are living predominantly in two-parent households. However, migrant children are also more likely to be living in very complicated households with extended family members, non-kin, as well as households without parents. And it's those kind of situations that are more associated with not being enrolled in school.
In the public debate, it's quite polarized between the anti-religious voices and the more extreme conservative religious voices, and they're the ones that get most attention. But what about the non-religious? What about the relationship between their identities and values for non-religious young people? And so I thought, well, I would apply for funding to address this gap in the literature.
One of the things that's really positive about this meeting of young scholars is that it allows young researchers to meet people from other disciplines, from other areas of research, and to forge collaborations with each other, which in this case have been funded by the Jacobs Foundation.